Hey everyone, this is an exciting episode. Obviously, every episode is exciting, but like, listen, the bar keeps getting raised each week, and this week is no different. I have a wonderful, dope, one of my favorite people joining us today. His name is Jay. You heard about him in the intro a little bit, but listen, no one can introduce you like you. So, Jay, why don't you tell every listener a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what makes you so dynamic?
Oh, Allison. So Allison is one of my big sisters, y'all. So definitely let's start off there. Has given me several opportunities. My name is Jay Dukes, and I am an entertainer. If you want to put it there, and everything that comes under that is hosting, acting, writing, directing, comedy. We do college tours. Been doing that since I graduated in 2010. Really heavy, submerged into that market. Do about 15 to 25 colleges a semester, and also the CEO and host of Oxcord Wars.
Yes.
Dun dun dun.
Awesome. Pew, 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 pew. Rap one. I should have a rap one available. I'll see what I can do. Well, so there's clearly no secret that you love what you do, but what got you into this business? What were you passionate about? What drew you to it?
I think I love people, man. I definitely love serving people. Love hosting. Hosting actually came very natural to me. I actually started hosting back in 2008. Even before I graduated, like as soon as I crossed with a fraternity, you know what I'm saying, 11th chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, just started hosting everything for our chapter, right? So everybody had their little roles and had their little pockets. My LB, my ace, Max, rest in peace. He was like the financial guy. Like he was just so good at like selling tickets. Like everybody just loved him. He could just sell tickets to anything. He could sell you an empty trash bag and you would buy it, right? So that was his thing, to just get the people there. Ashton was more like the numbers person, keeping our budget to where it was supposed to be, even though we never did our budget right. Because at the time, it was only 3 people in our chapter. So it was like, hey, you want pizza? You want pizza? Sure, I do too. And then we just buy pizza. And so, so hopefully we don't get locked up for how we handled the fun. Anyway, but so I would just be the one, hey, I just want the mic, whether it was a Q Paulo to like our versions of Apollo talent shows, whether it was a poetry night, whether we had just a forum on health and wellness, right? I always wanted to be on the mic. I always wanted to be on the stage, right? Yeah. So just wanting that attention. And so it just came natural to me to like host, entertain, do my thing, and just, you know, doing the research and providing something different. Because a lot of times when people hear host, they think announcer, right? Yeah. And it's a difference between an announcer and a host. I am a host. I am an entertainer. Yeah. So I'm not, and I would tell people early on, like, I charge this, and they was like, why are you charging all that just to like introduce the next team? Because that's not what I'm doing. Right. Cool. My goal is that I'm not a filler between the acts. I'm an addition to your show.
Sure. Right? Absolutely.
So let me rock. Let me do my thing.
Absolutely. And so, okay, we're going to dive a little bit more into that, but I think as you kind of share why you love what you do and explain like, okay, you're a people person, you love to serve, all of that is true. So I think we would be remiss not to take a step back into how we even connected.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of what you shared, I can attest to, for sure. So do you want to tell the story or do you want me to tell the story?
I want you to tell your version. I want you to tell your version.
Okay, so at the time, I was doing a lot of brand work for McDonald's and some other brands. And and this is always so funny when you recap things because there are 2 versions, I'm sure.
Yes,
but I don't know if you reached out via email, but you just reached out and you were like, you know, I'm a host. I really feel like I could, you know, I don't know if you came to an event, but whatever it was, you were like, I really feel like I can host the show. And I think you were like right out of school. And so I get like at the time I was getting a bajillion emails a day from people who wanted sponsorship or wanted opportunity. And I was like, oh, this is great. You know, that's what's up. And so to be honest, it was like,
that's what's up.
And to be honest, it was like one of maybe 112 emails I got that day. And so not drag the story, like you were very consistent. Like it was kind of like, oh, maybe she didn't get that email. Let me reply again. Hey, So again, I don't know if you got my email yesterday or whatever. And so the consistency was real. So I mean, and this is obviously before I knew you, of course, just, I love you. But at that moment I was like, okay, so I have two options. He's either going to continue to reach out, or I need to just set up a call or a meeting so we can just see what this is about. And I didn't know what to expect, but I think we did meet. You had so much energy. It was so much fun. And to be honest, we were used to, working with a certain level of quote unquote talent to make sure that we could draw the crowd or whatever. So I was like, gosh, she's really good. So we'll have to find a time where it's available. But I did know at that time that you were someone to keep on the radar, because you didn't show up and you were like, oh, that was a letdown. Like, as gritty as they were, they didn't deliver when they showed up on site, but you definitely did deliver when you showed up on site. But from there, if it was a holiday, you'd always reach out and say like, well, Merry Christmas, just want to let you know that I'm still here and everything. And I have to tell you, that level of drive and grit and fortitude and ambition, I think is what did it for me, because there are so many people out there, specifically young people, whenever that season is for you, that really want things handed down to them. They feel like they're owed something from people. They look at people's status or where they are now, and they assume they were an overnight success. And I always think it's funny when people say overnight success or anything. I'm like, it's overnight for you, but this has been a long night. Like, man. It's whenever you think you found a new talent, at minimum, there's 10 years behind that, at minimum. And so the fact that you were like, no, I'm willing to do the work. It was very clear that you were willing to do the work, that you knew how to effectively network, which a lot of people don't have that skill set. You were genuine when you said earlier that you love to serve people. That you could tell that was genuine. You knew how to reach out. You knew how to keep a relationship going. You knew how to be, I mean, it just all made sense. And so, long story longer, when the opportunity did arise to host for one of our CIAA step shows, you stepped right in. I think we had another actor join, and
Brian White.
You did. And I love Brian. But let's be clear, there was no different level of experience seen or showed when you guys were hosting. I mean, it was two like legends on the stage, and we were like, and I mean, that was it. I think you had us sold. I mean, you had us sold before that, but what I think it was, what do they always say? I don't know if it's luck, and I'm not the luck person, but when preparation meets opportunity, you honestly were the definition of that. Like, okay, you asked for the opportunity, you were consistent in the opportunity, you were genuine, and then when the opportunity came, you delivered. And for so many people, that's not the story. So, super excited for you, and not shocked at all by where all that has happened for you, all the success you have. It wasn't, to be completely honest, it wasn't, you didn't fall into where you are now. Where you are now has a lot of work behind it, and I can absolutely vouch for that. I absolutely have the receipts myself to show. I'm sure other people do too. So it's super excited to see, all that's going on for you. But that's my version.
Thank you. Oh, so my version is I was working at the radio station at 107.3 Jams Hot 98.1. This was the family reunion.
Yes.
Family reunion that we threw. You were doing the marketing for McDonald's, right? And I've always learned, don't look for the celebrity, look for the person that's holding the clipboard, right? You were the person running it, holding the clipboard. And at the time, I was really, really pressed on having a HBCU college tour. I want a college tour. I can't do it without the funds, right? At the time, I was like, I can't do it without money. So I got to get a sponsor. Even before I graduated, people would ask me, what are you going to do when you graduate? Because you are already doing your thing. And I told, and one of my neos till this day, like, yo, what's up with your tour bus? Because I would tell everybody I'm going to buy a tour bus, right? They was like, no, what's going to be your job when you graduate? No, I'm going to buy a tour bus, right? So I'm going to get it. I don't have it yet, but I'm still going to get it. right? And so I was like, I want to do this college tour. I want to do this college tour. It was the Too Much Talent tour at the time, right? So we had a couple of social media people, a couple of YouTube stars, people that's been on TV before. And so when I saw that you were working with McDonald's, I was like, man, I got to get a meeting because I got to get this tour off. And I know and for me and my talent, they probably going to give me $1 million. Easy, right? It's easy, right? And so that's what I was just stressing at the time. And then I just was like, okay, how do I get my foot in the door? How do I work with them? Because till this day, I still want to do a tour and get it sponsored. But as I have gotten older, we figured out the elements to add and the different things to put in there to where now the school is paying us to come, right? So it doesn't have to be begging a school, hey, I'll come to your school for $500. They're paying us now. And so it was, so just my mindset changed a little bit. I would still love, who is ever watching this, like we are definitely, you know, connected with several HBCUs and colleges across the nation. So I would still love to do something for these colleges to where they don't have to put up the funds. And I can say, I'm bringing in this sponsor, this sponsor, this sponsor, right? But we've been able to sustain ourselves and actually do tours every single semester because the schools see the value in what we provide, right? Which is a blessing. So go back. Till wanted to do this tour, needing a sponsor. I can't move without a sponsor. If I have a sponsor, I'm going to take off, right? And so that was what I was really pressing at the time. And then I was like, okay, being from Spartanburg, South Carolina, as a host, the pinnacle of hosting for me is BET, CIAA, right? At the time, BET/MTV, CIAA, right? So I'm like, yo, if I get CIAA, it will be insane. So knowing that y'all sponsor CIAA, and I didn't know who to talk to, you gave me a lot of information and a lot of insight on how the actual hierarchy goes, right? So I was like, McDonald's cutting the check, they gonna say who's gonna host it or not. So if I can get with Allison, if I can get with Xavier's, they gonna let me, and if I could say, hey, I'm a great host and they see it, they're gonna let me host it, right? But we still had to, you know, go through the proper protocols. Hey, we love you. You say, hey, I love your energy. I love what you do. I think you would be great. But I have to get you with Dexter, right? From Earthquake Productions, because he actually runs the show. So I can't go over him. I was like, well, okay, right? And so we even connected with Dexter, and Dexter was like, the first year, no go, right? Dexter was like, like I already have in mind who I want to host or whatever it was, you know, the radio station had a bunch of tie-ins at the time. I was working at a radio station outside of the Charlotte market, so it didn't even make sense, right? It didn't even make sense. And I stuck my foot in my mouth because I think we just came to speak. It was me and my cousin Nebo. I think we just came to speak after the show was over. We didn't even buy tickets to the show, nothing. We snuck in to find you. Right? To find you and Xavier's just to say hello. Oh, hey, Jay. And this was after we met or whatever, came to the office, all of that months later. It was like, hey, Jay, and this is Dexter. You might want to talk to him. Okay, cool. Talk to Dexter. Hey, what's up, man? He was like, hey, did you like the show? Have you ever been to the show? And I was like, man, honestly, I vowed to not go to the show until I got booked. And he was like, huh? And I was like, huh? And I remember that, and as soon as it came out of my mouth, I felt so stupid that the next year we actually came to the show. So this is 3 years in the making. So first year, definitely no, stuck my foot in my mouth. Second year, came to the show, support, shook hands, hugs. Hey, Dexter, love the show this year, came, stayed the whole time. I definitely, you know, see some things that I probably could add to it. Okay, cool. So now just putting in the time. These are years, right? So first year, second year, and then the third year started in November, because CIAA is in February. So starting in November, calling Dexter, whatever. Dexter's like, yeah, I like your energy, but I'll never book anybody that I haven't saw live yet, right? So to make a long story longer, there was a step show local to me, right, that already had a host and a DJ for. How can I say this? I was so adamant about trying to get that show so that Dexter could come see me that I did it the totally wrong way. right? Completely wrong. Like, I think I tried to like call the school and not talk to the host and the DJ and just super bad karma that came back and got me later. But I was able to learn from that and grow from that, right? But I was like, man, I need a show. So I literally tried to pay the DJ to make me his host and ask his homeboy to step down. Right? Because I was like, if I get this show, it's close enough for Dexter to come see me. Didn't get that show, almost ruined our relationship because it was like, bro, that's just not the way you handle business. That's not cool, right? And the show was like in 2 days. So I was like, oh, I got to get him to come see me. I can do this show. It's close enough for him to come see me, right? Anyway, so that show didn't work. Actually, an opportunity came up from the AKAs, the grad chapter in Charlotte, where they needed a host, right? And I was like, I will take this show for a very small budget or a humble budget, right? But I had to get you on the phone, and I was like, Allison, like, can you please see if Dexter comes to this show? Because if I take this show for this budget, it ain't really helping me.
Right.
But it's definitely and from a budget standpoint, every opportunity is a great opportunity. So thank y'all so much, the grad chapter in Charlotte. So I'm not saying that at all. Yeah, for sure. So I'm not saying that at all, but I was just saying, hey, it has to be a purpose if I do this show for this amount, right? And so you confirmed, it didn't even confirm, but hey, I'll try. It's close enough. I'll try to get him there.
Yeah.
Okay, right? So he actually, and did he come to that show? He came to that show, right?
He came to that show, yeah.
He came to that show to come see me. The show was in the rain. Everybody was freaking out. Everybody was freaking out, and they was like, we're gonna have to wait till the rain stops. And this was 30 minutes, 45 minutes after showtime. And I was like, yo, I'm ready. So whatever y'all want to do, we can just rock. We don't have to keep waiting. I'm not scared of the rain. It is what it is. Are the mics gonna work? Fine, right? And so everybody was nervous. Nobody knew who I was. They was like, I guess we'll give them an opportunity, right? And since it was raining, they started out with a drum line, like marching down. I remember it so vividly. Started with a drum line, marching down, right? And I came out, and my intro was a rain African dance, like And so
I remember this.
And we just rocked from that point. And after that, the lady that was over the grad chapter for the AKAs was like, I was real nervous. I didn't know who you were. But as soon as you hit the stage, the light turned on. And I say we couldn't have made a better choice. Yeah. And so took 3 years to get so we have to tell the ending, right? At that show, Dexter said, and you confirmed, that I love his persistence. I love his talent. He brings something different. We are going to give him an opportunity. The next year, I got to host the show, co-hosted with Brian White. So.
Wow. Your story was so much more fun. And like, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh my gosh, I remember every moment. I remember the AK Step Show. I remember you guys coming to visit each year. That's just so amazing. And you know what I loved about the story too, and I appreciate the vulnerability in that, because often I think on the podcast we talked about how important it is to fail forward, and that the greatest people aren't people who never fail. Like if you are not willing to take the risk and learn, then you won't move anywhere. And so yeah, and to be honest, we were all in like our 20s just getting along, but it was okay to make some decisions and be like, well, that didn't work, and deal with it and not let it just knock us completely off course or say like, maybe this isn't for me or maybe I shouldn't do it. So that's amazing to hear.
So thank you for keeping me in the loop, for letting this young dude from Spartanburg, South Carolina, continue to get on your nerves and making a decision to say, hey, we're going to give him a shot. I don't know why, but I think he deserves it. So thank you.
No, I listen, you definitely, it's very clear when anyone meets you that you have something super dynamic. And it's not something that you ever have come off feeling entitled to. It's very clear that like, I'm willing to be a partner. I'm willing to make this work, and I deliver and I show up. And that's what makes people want to partner with people.
Allison, I want you to know that I'm a thug now, but you're gonna make me cry for this podcast.
Straight up, like we can do thug tears all day.
Oh,
let me be clear. I want anyone listening to know that it's not, it's just not something that you trip into. It's something that you have to, whatever you want to see or whatever you're asking for people, you have to show up. And then not only show up, you got to give extra upon that show up, and you consistently do that. So like, yeah, I have no problem putting my name on anything that's tied to you because you've consistently showed up from the get-go.
Wow. And so, and another thing that you said that I just have to like realize and understand that how you start is how you finish.
Yep.
I'm not as humble anymore from a work grind standpoint.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like everybody's doing so much to where if you don't have that moment, if you don't have that one-on-one connection, and if you're not open to, hey, I do this, this, and this, then you don't know who I am. You
Correct.
don't know what I do, right? And so sometimes I do get down, I do get depressed, I do get, in my feelings about like, yo, like, why would they tell me no, right? But they don't know me from a can of paint. They don't work with Tyler Perry, Shonda Rhimes, whoever. And I'm like, yo, my name's Jay Dukes. I would love to work with you. I got to do this, this, and this. And it's like, everybody do this, this, and this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so the way that I was even able to, like I say, the pinnacle for me at the time was CIAA to get the opportunity. That took almost 4 years. That took a grind. That took, you know what I'm saying? So it's just going down memory lane and remembering that, like, without that grind, what do you have? Right. Wow.
And the fact that when I asked you what you were passionate about, one, the first thing you said is, I love people. I love to serve people. That was your first answer. That is a very powerful statement because it's something that's ingrained in you. You want to make people laugh. You want people to have a great time. Now from that, yes, you've built a career, but it's rooted in something very honest and true. And I think that, like I was saying before, that's, I think, what keeps you going, because a lot of people wouldn't have made it to the second year. They would have been like, oh, if I can't host this year, then I'm done. And I'm not making that up because I've talked to people like that. I've talked to people who have quote unquote arrived and they're like, well, if this don't happen, I'm not going to do it. And you don't know their name now. Just being honest. So it's something that it has to be a characteristic, or it has to be part of your character, and that the impact that you want to have. And from that impact, then you are trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? If I want to impact people, I want to do it via comedy. I want to do it via hosting. I want to do it by creating dope programming. But if you're not rooted in your why, and we've talked about that a couple of times on this podcast, if you're not rooted in your why, then every time somebody says no, you're done. Like, you're going to give up. You're going to be mad at everybody. And you're just going to be sitting in your chair for the next decade. Because I'm telling you, it takes a level of grit and fortitude to, one, be in this industry. Like, because in this industry, you hear no way more than you hear yes. So something's got to click in you to not be fazed by the yes. And no, that doesn't mean that you may not have a day where you're like, this is not what's up. But you still know, like, it's still in me and it's still what I want to do. And so I applaud you for that. If I had the applaud button, I'd play that. Now, maybe I need to just find all these sound effects buttons, but just kudos to you. And I think this is a good segue into just another question that I'd love for you to dive into and be just transparent as you want to. But I think when we start our journeys, from the time that people start asking us, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And we have this idea in our mind, and we go out and we start this journey, and we quickly figure out that life is like, nah, fam, it's not going to be that easy. And so I'd love for you to talk about define moments that when you started out on this journey, what you wanted to do, defining moments when life just took you off that path and you realized, like, okay, this is not going to work the way I thought it was. What are a few, like one or two of those defining moments? And then right after that, what was your mentality that helped you keep going when you figured out that the journey I expected and the journey that actually happened is all good, but I had to keep this mindset?
Gotcha. So I think I have two, right? So with doing what my family would say an untraditional route, right? Or untraditional discipline, path, career, whatever. You have to learn at times that your help comes from God, right? And you have to listen to that voice. And sometimes that voice is softer than your own family and the people closest to you, right? So sometimes you have to tune out the louder voice and listen to the voice that's really inside of you, right? So I think one of the examples is when I first moved to Atlanta. This is after we were doing shows for, like college tours for a couple of years already, and making good money, but not understanding how to budget.
Got it.
So still making good money and being broke during the summertime. So my family didn't see the good money part, and you need to stop going to the mall every single Friday because you actually have some money. They saw you're asking me for lunch and gas money during the summertime.
Right.
And not saying, okay, how do we understand that it's a better way to do this versus you have to go get a job during the summertime, or you have to do this, you have to do that, right? So learning a little bit from that, right? And so when I moved to Atlanta the first time, there was a huge concern. You're moving on your own. You have to get a job and do shows on the weekends. And I'm like, could I just get something part-time, whatever? No. You remember how depressed you are during the summertime and how tough it is and all of that. You have to get a job, right? So I ended up moving down the first time, working at Home Depot. But contracts are still coming in, inquiries are still coming in, and I'm trying to take calls, business meetings in the bathroom, faking sick to go to the, you know what I'm saying? Like trying to get 5-7 extra minutes or whatever. And so when I looked at my taxes from that year and the year before, I ended up making more money just doing college tours and grinding it out than I was working at Home Depot and trying to balance the two, right? But the only reason I got that job was because my family was so much in my ear of you have to have something and you have to balance it because this ain't it. And I'm like, obviously this is, if I take this as serious as going to work and clocking in every day and being miserable, right? So one thing, so that was one thing that I had to realize is that everybody's path is going to be different, right? So my path was to stay, okay, let's stay on this course because this course is actually working. And when you start to get off of this course, that's when, depression is coming in. That's when your anxiety is kicking in. That's when things are not as bright for you. Because even though it might seem a little wonky, it still works for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I needed somebody to step in and say, hey, this actually can work if you fix this left tire. That's all we needed, right? Versus, hey, you need another car. And I was like, wait, I don't need another car, actually, right? And so that was one thing. And another thing was, and I think a lot of times when I felt at my lowest, was just listening to other people, right? Because another thing was, I started out hosting, and the first year, the year that I graduated, 2010, that next semester, I made my first check for like $2,000 for one show, right? Like to host one show. So I'm like, okay, cool, this is something, right? But then as I continued to do college tours or whatever, I heard people telling me, like, nobody's going to pay you just to host. You're going to have to do comedy, right? And I was like, huh? That was like, nobody is getting paid that much money consistently as a host. You can be a comedian that happens to host. And I was like, I guess, right? And so now I started to learn comedy and learn the craft of, stand-up, right? Which didn't come easy to me and, had me on some low points at a lot of times, but that was because I was listening to other people versus it being a natural progression of you already tell jokes on stage, put them together and do your thing. You know what I'm saying? And so that was another thing that was a huge issue for me. And then my mom being super religious, down South Carolina, church every, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday morning and evening. Right. And so all she knew was, Richard Pryor, Red Fox, and Mike Epps. You ain't no comedian. You are not no comedian. You ain't doing that. You are not doing that. Right. And so that was a thing that kept weighing on me. So in my comedy career early on, I continuously failed because I was not versatile, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was I always had my mom's voice in the back of my head, and it was me always feeling like I was performing for my mom versus just telling stories and being myself on stage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was just being a huge mama's boy. And I'm grown at this point. I'm 25, 26, still hoping I'm not getting in trouble for what I'm saying on stage. So this actually was a conversation with my mom that I had to get freed from and saying, Mom, this is my career now. So I don't need you condemning me every time I come home and tell you about a show that that didn't go well, or that I messed up on this or whatever, because overall people are leaving the venue going, man, hey man, keep doing your thing, bro. That was crazy. Like me and my lady, we enjoyed your whole set or whatever. I got to see more. You got to see, do this, got to do that. Right. But if I'm only focusing on the bad and I'm telling you the bad, all you hear is bad, bad, bad. So stop doing that. That ain't your thing. Right. And so even to this day, I focus and lean more towards comedic hosting, but I can't shy away from being a comedian because I took the time to get better in that discipline. Right. I'm not a headliner. I don't have hours of material, but I'm a strong feature.
Right.
You put me up there, I'm gonna kill. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do my thing. You know what I'm saying? But it was just, you know, listening to other people, and like I say, like my family, and I love my family, but it's just coming from two totally different mindsets and just trying to please everybody, serve everybody, make everybody happy, and realizing that you got to put yourself first. So it took me a long time to realize that.
Yeah, and you are not alone. That's not a siloed situation. So many people, and to your point, this has nothing to do with how you love and respect family, but one is realizing that there are two generational perspectives, two completely different lives lived, that are coming out in the advice given. And it's funny you said you had to talk to your mom, because I have conversations with my mom all the time, and I always am telling my friends, like, if you've never talked to your parent as an adult, you need to do that. Like, you know, because there's so much honesty and like realness that comes out in those conversations. You start to look at them with you start to realize that they're human. Like when you're young, they're superheroes. Like they can do no wrong. You're completely dependent. You don't know how to do anything on your own.
Yeah.
When you're an adult and you're hitting the ages that they are when they had you, and you're like, they were navigating this life too, you know,
super young.
And then you have this grace for them. And then you actually have a higher respect. Like, wow, y'all were giving the best that you had. And I think when you have those conversations, you are able to kind of sometimes, I guess the word is categorize how they're talking to you and the advice they're giving to you. And like them or anybody that you talk to, you know how to, you know, eat the chicken and throw away the bones. Not because the bones were bad, those bones apply to their lifestyle and their situation, not so much you. But there's also some wisdom that comes along with it. So yeah, you handle that as well. But I do think people need to understand how to take advice that way from whoever it's coming from, so that you can be true to who you are. Because sometimes people are talking to you, and because they love you so much, they're giving you advice from the lens of protection, and that's not always what you need.
Allison, I don't think you knew what this podcast was gonna be. I didn't either, because like we about to really open up some stuff. Cause and my thing is, like, growing up in a single parent household, right? Like being a mama's boy turned into a mama's man, right? You always want your mom, me, and this is just real personal, to say, I'm proud of you. Absolutely. Right. And it's something, and if I'm doing something on a daily basis, day in and day out, trying to get better, trying to grow, trying to learn, and I come home and always have to hear, why are you still doing that?
Right.
It's like, you know what I'm saying? But everybody else is like, this is what you have to do. That you have to take these bumps. You have to, and I don't care about everybody else. I just want to make my mama happy.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And that's a very challenging, difficult space to be in, because it's like, man, like, what can I do that she's happy and everybody else is happy too? And then I had to say, okay, let's take all of that down, and what can I do to make me happy?
Right.
All right.
Right.
Woo!
It's
So
real. And I mean, and like I said, it takes a minute. And I think it's rooted still in communication, right? Because a lot of it is like, well, you may not see, or like you said, your view of comedy includes this set of people. And that's not, let me introduce you to this set to look at, or my set, you know? Or, you know, like I said, some people have been hurt. So there were times in my career where people would say like, don't leave a company if it's really toxic. You got to give it 5 years. And that's something that they endured. But then I'm like, no, it's really toxic for me. I'm gonna leave today. You know,
today. And don't